We're approaching Buick Bridge. Though I doubt the Empire would let us cross over to Rosalith.
Early Final Fantasy games operated with this sort of world map, travel to the world map, you hit a dungeon, you go through the dungeon, complete your objective, you leave back to the world map, you proceed to a town, that kind of thing. Later games in the series, particularly when we get into like the 3D era, you tend to have this sort of dungeons as part of traversal kind of thing. Where, like, let's say, Final Fantasy VII, you go to the town of Nibelheim, and you can explore the town, do whatever, buy stuff from the shops, but at the back of the town is a dungeon. It's not actually a dungeon in the sense that, like, it's not constructed, it's not underground, anything like that. It's just sort of like this tunnel, this mountain pass, and there's some tunnels and shit to get through. But I'm calling it a dungeon, like, by gaming conventions. You hit that dungeon and you got to make it to the other side, and when you do that, you're into the next section of the world map, and you can explore further along. That sort of design faded away when we got into the PlayStation 2 era, where instead of having like an open, like a world map kind of thing in Final Fantasy X, you would go into an area and then you would travel down it, more or less like a tunnel, and get to the other side, and you would continue. So it followed with that tradition, but since there was no world map, it gave this different impression of the way that the world was built up, made it feel more interconnected. Like, there was a fairly significant amount of that game where you could just travel on foot, hitting the loading zones, moving from one to the next, and travel, like, all the way from, I guess, what was it? Luca is the name of the town, I think. All the way to Zanarkand, I guess. And you can just hit loading screens traveling from environment to environment to get all the way there. You know, no fast traveling, no hitting a boat or anything like that. Final Fantasy XII went with a different approach, where it was much more open. Now, the PlayStation 2 didn't have a whole lot of memory in it, so it couldn't store large open environments. And it could stream data off the disk, but it was a little bit limited in terms of transfer rate and all that kind of stuff. So there were limitations on how much they could do it. So 12 worked by dropping you into an environment that's sort of like spider webbed out. So this, you can go east, north, south, west, whatever. And each one of those takes you to a new environment, and a significant amount of that game world is connected like that. Now, I like that also because it gives you the impression that the world is huge, because you hit that loading screen, you pass into the next section, you get, like, you can insert however much time it took to pass into the next zone in your imagination. So, though, did it take an hour to walk to that spot from here? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. But you didn't have to take every step along the way.
The Lazarus. What happened to this place?
My mother happened. The nobles who lived here didn't stand a chance. Let's hope my uncle fared better. We should start with the main gate and see where that gets us.
The problem with creating a true open world like in Skyrim or Final Fantasy 15 is that you have to make the world enormous in order to make it feel natural that you're moving from town to town over an environment like this.
That's the main gate. And it looks like we're not the only ones hoping to get in.
Let us pass! My children are starving! Have mercy! Voice-rinsed dogs they are! You can't ignore us forever!
Let us in, or we'll die on your doorstep!
Better out there than in here!
Oh, good enough,
Fuck off! Bandits in this bastards! Those crystals belong to us all! I said, where were you, filth?
Back to your stall!
Cut you down where you stand! Destroy it!
No chance of slipping through unnoticed. We'll need to find another way in. I thought we might be able to reason with the guards. Or at least bribe them.
I suspect everyone in that crowd thought the same. Was that the only way in?
Officially, yes. Strictly speaking, no. My uncle once told me that the nobles had tunnels built, so that they could visit town without having to walk amongst the rabble. The Lazarus. We'll find our way into the city there.
If you're sure. The entire place looked abandoned. Do you think it's safe?
As long as it is abandoned.
The good news is we haven't seen a single black shield since Old Hill.
Maybe they found who they were looking for.
So this game takes the Final Fantasy XII approach to world design, where it's not like a narrow hallway like in 10. It's larger areas. It's not truly open like 15, but it's confined. It forces you to travel a specific path to get to certain areas. And it's pretty big.
This is nothing like I remember it.
How quickly a crown can lose its luster.
In fact, it's way bigger than in 12. But in order to make everything feel like it's connected to each other, they're putting long sections of travel. And that can perhaps get a little boring. But you could say that the sections of travel sort of make up the dungeons that you travel between towns to reach, that kind of thing.
Not abandoned, then.
Oi! Visitors!
Apologies. We'll show ourselves out. Not.
You have to expect you're going to run into a lot of people like this. People that seem like they're more or less just trying to take advantage of the situation. Anytime you're going to have like this massive refugee crisis, you're going to have these situations where people set up shop either to prey upon, like as bandits, prey upon the refugees, or perhaps just rob them or something like that. Or maybe even like in a more insidious way, selling them some sort of false hope, like we can get you across the border if you give us all of your money, and then just run off with the money or get them killed somehow. Us trying to sneak in, we ran into a few. Set everyone on fire. I'm sure they'll be okay, right?
I've only ever seen one man fight like that. And he's long dead.
Then perhaps it's time you joined him.
The blessing of the Phoenix. It can't be. I was there when you died. Forgive me, my lord. I knew not whom I addressed. You have naught to fear from us. Founder, it really is you.
It is. So wait.
We can speak inside.
And those who wouldn't bend the knee?
We left before the Empire could make examples of us, though we didn't go far. And we banded together to form the Guardians of the Flame soon after. Alas, there is only so much a handful of aging shields can do against the might of an empire. But we've seen to it that their stay has been anything but pleasant. Of late, though, we've had our hands full just trying to keep the Duchy's few remaining bearers out of the Imperial's clutches.
The Cullings. We saw what happened in Old Hill.
Aye, the foul work of the Black Shields and their mistress.
You mean my mother? But it doesn't make sense. Even knowing what I know about her. Her hatred for bearers was no secret, but she wouldn't have been ignorant of their value to the realm.
No offense, my lord, but in case you haven't noticed, the Lady Annabella couldn't care less about the realm. She barely even cares for her own home. That much has been plain since the slaughter at Eastpool. And, since granting the Holy Emperor a new heir, her obsession with bearers only seems to have grown. As to why, I don't know. Maybe she can't bear the thought of anyone having the power to challenge her beloved son.
Her son.
Sir Wade, the Black Shields have broken camp. They march in full force for Buick Bridge.
Then so do we. Make ready. This is their main host. If we remove the head, perhaps we can prevent what happened at the docks from happening somewhere else. If I do nothing, then the blood of their next victims will be on my hands.
Yours and ours. We too have witnessed the crimes these men who dare call themselves Shields have committed in my mother's name. It cannot be allowed to continue. We must put a stop to this madness.
We must. So let us go with you. For the good of Rosaria.
I was hoping you'd say that. Very well. If that is your wish, I would be honored to serve at your side.
And we at yours.
So, Wade, let us do our duty.
With pleasure, my lord.